the Holy Spirit has called me to. So anyway, thank you guys for helping me grow the channel and be a different kind of influence in this world. It means a lot to me. It really does. All right, family, let's get into the meat of the message. So I'm calling this one my journey of yes. And I'm going to let you guys in on something that God is doing with me personally. So y'all, a couple weeks ago, I was in a session with my coach, and she had mentioned to me that, you know, she felt or, sense in the spirit that I'd be moving, which I already knew. I already knew that I'd be moving because God had already preempted me to like not sign my lease or certain changes that God was calling me to make. And so I already felt in my spirit that I would be moving, right? I already felt that. I did not know where. I did not know why. And so I kind of just was waiting and was like, God, it's kind of getting close to that time. Like, do I renew? Do I do a month to month? What do I do when it comes to my lease? Like, I didn't know. And so essentially I keep praying about it. I keep praying about it. I have this session with my coach, and she brings up to me that, God is moving me to the West Coast. And, and, I'm actually kind of speechless in saying it because I'm going to share with you guys. Like, I'm not going to give you guys all the details, but I'm going to give you enough details so she advised me that I'd be moving to the West Coast, or she felt like God was prompting me to move to the West Coast, which I had sensed that it was a confirmation, but it was not the way that I wanted it to happen. I had envisioned myself moving to the West Coast and like I'm married or something. I didn't envision it with me just going, like I never envisioned me just leaving, like without a job or a man, like, just leaving, and really walking in a level of faith that this was not what I thought this would be. This is not how I thought I'd be moving. I thought somebody would be pulling up in a chariot. I'd get on the back of the horse and we ride off into the sunset. I thought it would be that. I didn't think it would be a situation where God would be calling me to move and I'm not married. It's not for those reasons. It's not even for a clear, real reason right now. Like, I know that there's a lot I'm learning more about as it relates to where God is moving me to. I do see where I know it's for ministry. I know God is calling me out there and it's a ministry move. I know God is going to use me in that area. And so I'm prepared for that at this point. But I will tell you guys, in that moment, when she said that to me, I rejected it. I was like, no, no, no. This does not resonate with me. This is not what I want. This is not how I wanted this to be. You got to be wrong. Like, and I struggle with this. I called friends up. I really was fighting this because, yes, I knew that I would be called to move, but I thought I would be called to move for different reasons. I didn't think I'd just be called to move like that, And so, y'all, it was tough for me, like for that week. And then I kind of released it. I let it go. And I basically said to God, like, I surrender this to you. Like, if this is what you want with me, if this is what you want for me, I'll go. Like, it took me a minute to get to that place of surrender. But once I got to that place of surrender, I just kind of had peace. I just had peace, I just let it be what it is. And so I would say a few days later, I won't even say a few days later. I would say less than a few. I would say about a week later. About a week later from there, I had a different perception of this. Sorry, y'all. So anyway, about a week later, after I had surrendered moving, I started feeling the prompting to move, and I started seeing signs in my own day-to-day life about the place that God was calling me to move to. Again, family, I'm crying in my closet. I'm like, okay, God, like if this is it, like you got to make it clear. So I had already stated I was going to do a fast so that I was sure that this was God. And what I wanted, family, was more of a plan. I wanted God to kind of chart the course for me, to kind of show me the rubric of what this looks like. Okay, so I go, and what happens next, and what happened. Like I wanted so much clarity about what, why, how, this, that, and a third. And what ended up happening, family, was that God kept putting me in the vicinity around different people that were called to move. So that's literally what I ran into a person I hadn't seen in years. She had randomly decided to move to the West Coast. She didn't have all the answers, but she knew God was in it. And so she was gonna go. And I was like, okay, well, I feel like God's calling me to do the same thing, but like what, how do, like, you know, you have a plan? She's like, no, God doesn't work like that. God just kind of gives you a prompting like Abraham, and you just go. And then along the journey, God gives you the answers. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I need answers. I need answers. And so we started talking about like where and what and all the things. And I'm like, okay. Next day, I run into somebody else who is randomly been given a job opportunity in a different state and blah blah blah. And they know, few people there, a couple people there, and they may be leaving to go and take this risk and go with their child, which to me was crazy because I'm looking at it like, okay, well, the one I saw the other day, she moved, but she doesn't have a child to think about. The one that was moving the next day was moving with a baby. I'm moving with a kid. My baby's gonna be 7. So I'm like, okay, so I don't have any excuses here. Like she kind of robbed me of my excuses, but she has the answer of a job. Like I'm going and I do a lot of things. Y'all know I do my podcast, I do my social media thing. I have other things that I got going on, but like I don't have like a full-time 9 to 5 that I'm going to or anything like that. I don't necessarily think God is calling me to that, but in my mind, I would have found rest and peace in that, right? God wasn't giving me that. So anyway, so that was the second person that was moving from one state to the next state, and they're not from there. It would be a move that they're considering. Third day, which is a Sunday, I meet somebody else. They randomly walk up to me in church. I know this woman for a couple years ago. She was called to move back home, right? Back to where she came from, where she was from. She didn't really have all the answers, but she knew God was prompting her to move. She had known for the last couple of months that God was prompting her to move. And so she moved, and now she's figuring things out. And as she's here, God is literally opening things up. And then from there, I met another couple of people that were called to move, that God had prompted them to move. They didn't have all the answers. And God was convicting me in those instances because he was showing me that people have been called to move. They don't have the answers. They move and then they get them. Right. And it's like, are you trusting in the provision? Are you trusting in the answers? Are you trusting in me that provides the answers? And so I started dealing with the conviction, especially during my whole fast, was like, I understood that God was saying, listen, like Abraham, like Joseph, like David, like any of the other people in the Bible. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about Ruth, because there was revelation that I want to share about the story of Ruth. There are times where God is going to call you to move and do something, and you don't have all the answers. The whole course isn't charted yet. You have certain promptings, but you're not clear, right? You don't have all the answers. And so, family, as I went through the 3 days of my fast, and continuously I was clear. I knew God was calling me to move. I was not going to get all the answers, but God was going to give me the peace that surpassed all understanding to stand in what God was going to call me to. And so I'm here to tell you, family, that even with now, it's been a couple of weeks of me just kind of marinating on this and really like defining the course and figuring out my part of it so that I'm prepared to go. So I've been setting myself up. I've been making provisions, but I'm here to tell you, family, that sometimes God calls you to move, really calls you to move, and you ain't got all the answers. You might not have the job. You might not have the relationship. You have no idea that God is calling you, or why God is calling you, or what's going to happen. And I'm here to tell you that in me wanting all that clarity, I was convicted. I was convicted because God let me know that if you trust me like Abraham, you would move. Like Abraham didn't know where he was going. Abraham didn't have that clarity. He said, go to a land that you don't know, a foreign land. Take everything that you own and leave. Leave your homeland and go to a land that I will show you. And Abraham left. And I think that story just keeps on coming up to me like over and over again. And I'm like, we don't even think about that type of faith, family. Like in our world, when I say I'm moving now, like, so do you have a job? Are you going there because of, like, what's there? Do you have family? No, I don't have family there. No, I'm not a West Coast kid. Family, I'm from New Jersey. Okay, I've lived in Atlanta most of my life. I had spurts and times where I lived in California, but I'm not a West Coast kid. That's not me. I'm an East Coast kid. You gonna implant you gonna implant a East Coast kid in West Coast? Okay, all right. But it was one of those things where it's like you calling me to a foreign land, a foreign world. All I've known for a lot of my life is Atlanta or Jersey. Now I'm going to the West Coast. What you gonna do with me there, God?